During the 7 minutes of brain action you will have prior to kicking the bucket, you will see your recollections in an illusory example. Having kin is demonstrated to assist with coexisting great with peers. The manner in which a singular treats the representatives at a foundation tells tremendously about their personality. In the event that you cry out of joy, the principal tear will come from the right eye. Yet assuming you shout out of distress, it will come from the left. Food arranged by another person tastes obviously superior to your own planning. In any event, when you utilize a similar recipe, hearing a solitary negative thing could harm something like 5 positive recollections. Studies have shown that eating food without additives will build IQ by up to 14%. You generally tend to assume more about a particular person than about horrendous occasions. A singular actually has 7 minutes of brain action before he dies. Scientists have seen that believing that something terrible will happen is less unpleasant to comprehend than not understanding how it will ultimately twist up. The term brain research has been gotten from the Greek word mind, interpreting as breath, soul, and logia, that compares to investigation of. It requires around 66 days for a typical person to make something a day-to-day propensity. Concentrates on say that people who could intuitively utilize mockery to handle a trivial inquiry have sound personalities. People who have a profound feeling of responsibility are better at distinguishing the feelings and worries of individuals around them. We can adnretsnit enim seetups nasin azulnog as thilsat and versiteltierts of odros are in Kirkot Palex. Suck as tis nasin. We're normally second disapproved in light of the fact that others don't endorse. Yawning to have another person's yawn is a typical peculiarity, in spite of not feeling depleted or sleeping. One of the legends in regards to its irresistibleness is that individuals get it to communicate sympathy. A typical person's psyche meanders 30% of the time. Student ascends to 45% when a singular glances at someone they love. We frequently will generally separate information into classes of 3 to 4 items in them. The Indian telephone number is 984-973-2543. 3 blocks with 3 to 4 pieces in each lump. During the 7 minutes of brain movement you will have prior to biting the dust, you will see your recollections in a fanciful example. Having kin is demonstrated to assist with coexisting great with peers. The manner in which a singular treats the representatives at a foundation tells gigantically about their personality. Assuming that you wail out of bliss, the principal tear will come from the right eye. However, assuming that you shout out of distress, it will come from the left. Food arranged by another person tastes far superior to your own planning. In any event, when you utilize a similar recipe, hearing a solitary negative thing could harm something like 5 positive recollections. Studies have shown that devouring food without additives will build IQ by up to 14%. You generally tend to assume more about a particular person than about devastating occasions. A singular actually has 7 minutes of brain movement before he dies. Specialists have seen that imagining that something terrible will happen is less distressing to comprehend than not understanding how it will ultimately twist up. Men aren't more engaging than ladies. They just make more jokes. It doesn't matter at all to them regardless of whether others like their humor. Modest individuals educate others very little regarding themselves. However, they do it in all a way that causes others to accept they understand them better than they really suspect they do. Our mind size has diminished by 10% since we were tracker finders. Individuals in blue rooms are additionally considerably more useful. The review demonstrated the way that data could endure longer in the brain of an individual assessed for it than if it were just analyzed without the requirement for moment review. You are in a perpetual quest for human countenances in lifeless things. Individuals are significantly more liable to return a missing wallet in the event that an image of a kid is viewed as inside. Shrewd individuals will quite often have less mates than the typical individual. The more astute the individual, the more particular they become. Individuals who communicate in 2 dialects can accidentally change their characters when they change to communicate in starting with one language then onto the next. Individuals would prefer to change reality than change their perspectives about individuals. Being distant from everyone else is more diligently for your well-being than you truly accept. We're the most inventive in the evening and the most unimaginative in the day. Being home alone and separated for quite a while is similarly as terrible for your prosperity as smoking 15 cigarettes every day. Individuals are bound to fault somebody for the situation when something negative occurs. Investigations likewise discovered that individuals who are in a place of impact and power are extremely poor in deciding others' feelings. Individuals between the ages of 18 and 33 are the most elevated rate to have discouragement on the planet. Concentrates on say that movement further develops mind prosperity and even brings down an individual's opportunity of coronary illness and despondency. Mental discord is the point at which you have two disconnected values and you change one to match another. The broken heart condition is also called stress cardiomyopathy, which could lead to critical, short-term heart muscle dysfunction. The force of authority may have the same effect on a human as a traumatic brain injury. People read quicker with longer lines, but prefer shorter lines. Larger groups make worse and more subjective choices than smaller groups of people. If you can't interrupt the stream of thinking at night, write it down. This is going to put your mind at ease so that you can relax. Women have half as many pain receptors on their bodies as males, but they have a much greater threshold for pain. Physically, repetition affects the brain as new associations are made between brain cells. The maximum number of close relationships, friendships you can maintain is between 50 and 150. Any relationship born between 16 and 28 years of age is more likely to be robust and long-lasting. Emotional pain is remembered better than actual pain, which has a greater influence on your behavior. If we have a plan B, our plan A is less likely to succeed. The starting and the ending are easier to recall than the middle ones. Anything that your mind says has an identical response from the body's cells. We would like to break more laws if one law is too strict. London cab drivers, who need to know every street in London, have an expanded hippocampus that indicates that this area is increasing as you decipher more details. Our minds are working on making boring speeches more exciting. You're conditioned to enjoy the songs you've most listened to in high school. Memories are more like pieced images than precise snapshots. When you feel like you're low on something like money, you're obsessive about it. A scientist named Thomas H. Morgan discovered